Hello, good day. I'm very sleepy today because I've been working some long hours. But I had a good sleep this morning, so in the end, so I'm feeling good now. I've got my coffee, my toffee nut latte, instant coffee, which is very nice. And I thought I would do a truth about growing up video. So the first thing I want to talk about is that if you feel uncomfortable with talking about periods and that, then that's fine. Don't continue to watch them. You don't have to. But basically, if you start to feel very lethargic, start to get pains in your stomach, normally just above the abdomen, then it means that it could be that your period's starting to start. So just be aware that you may get like stomach cramps. You may feel a lot more stressed out than normal, and you can feel a lot more lethargic. So those are the three things that to spot if your period is on its way. The other thing is you can feel very sluggish and not wanting to do very much. And you'll also start to notice things about your body a lot more. So, and be very, very self-critical as you go through your teens, and for a little bit, like you're on your own in a way when you're not. And I do think that when it comes to sexual education, that they should talk about the emotional side of it rather than about that and that is about man and woman coming together to have sexual intercourse, because it's more than that. It's more about the emotional side, the things that you didn't notice before that you're noticing now, and just talk about the feelings of when you have your period, because my name's Carrie, and I have seen the Carrie film a few times, and it's about a girl who freaks out as she goes through her teenage years, and I can kind of relate to that, because that's how I felt when I first began periods, and it was a shock to the system, so I do think people should go into schools and sit and chat with young girls and boys about not just about the physical side of becoming a teenager, but the emotional side. And so you'll also start to compare a lot more. I'm guilty of doing this a lot, and I've stopped it now. But I even would do it when I used to go to the gym, compare myself, like, how can that person sweating like a pig? I'm running on the treadmill for a half hour, and I'm not sweating hardly at all, And it's because people's bodies are made very differently. Some will sweat, some will not. So, you will start to compare yourself a lot more. And to stop that, what I would say was, now, would I want to be that person, or would I want that person to know me as I am, And that's an important question, because I'm now in a place now where I can actually safely say that I'm not bad, I look in the mirror now and I feel, still get days where I'm like, oh God, do I really look like that? But I now get more days where I feel like, yes, that is me in the mirror, and you know what, you're not bad as you thought, and it's changing your mind process into seeing the positive things. And one thing I would always say to do is have 3 journals. These are the 3 journals that I mainly write. These are the 3. So this one is my everyday journal that I fill in every day. If there's something that's bothering me, if I'm going through a change in my life, anything that goes in here. Then I have my happiness journal, and in here I write about all the things that make me happy. So, for example, I've got a picture of my son, who brightens up my day every day, and I wrote about seeing him at Easter. Even though it was a short bit of time, it still meant the world to me, you know. And I'm using a Jaffa Cake piece from the box as a bookmark. And then I have a gratitude journal, which is this one. And I write down all the things I'm thankful for and all the things I'm looking forward to. And that is the three journals I would say to have that will really help you as you go through your teenage years and address certain things that are upsetting you, because you will find that your emotions are a lot increase as you go through your teenage years. You'll start to also look at people a different way, especially those people that you start to see or have a. It's not good because as a kid you can have a crush, but you know that's what it is. It's just a crush. That's, you know, I had a crush on Superman, for example. Now, will I ever meet Superman? No. It's just a fantasy crush. Now I know that, you know, Superman's not real, but, you know, I found him like, wow, you know. I wish that he was flying me around, you know. And I'll probably stop panicking because I hate heights. And then there's your childhood crush, but then when you get to your teens, you start to notice people a lot more. You will start to feel like a sexual attraction towards people, because your body is basically changing from being a young child to an adult, and that does include a lot of emotions that never existed before. You may start to rebel, which I did. I went through a rebellious teenage phase where I was no longer into the pop group scene, into boy bands. I got into rock music, football, and that kind of took over my teens. I started dressing a little bit more like a tomboy rather than feminine, and I went through a complete change as I went through teens. And can it ground you? In a way, yes, it can. You have to go through your teenage years in order to get to, you know, adult. And when you go to secondary school, you know, you will find that when I went from primary to secondary school, I made it a must that I would never ever get bullied at school again. And you know what? I wasn't. There were girls that tried to antagonise, but I learned to not react. And they knew if I did react, that is because they really have crossed a boundary that I thought they shouldn't have crossed. So that's the time when I do fight back. But a lot of the time, I switch off. And that's how I've dealt with, you know, people trying to antagonise. And I made it a rule. And that's what you should always make yourself as a teenager a rule, that you won't get used by people or bullied, because as you become a teenager, increases the antagonising in some way by other teenage girls or boys, by adults, because they start to see you not as a little girl anymore, but as a young adult, and it can attract the wrong kind of people, and even more so. And I've seen the girls where they have their shorts really, really short. And I've seen it when I've been on the bus where there's been grown men who look like they're in their 50s, 40s, 50s, eyeing them up in their school uniform. And it used to really kind of get to me that you should not be looking at them in that way, because you shouldn't. But you always get that. And I do think that they should speak to young girls. Not to say that they can't just have a wish, but just to make them aware that, you know, as you go through teenager, you'll start attracting the opposite sex, or the same sex if you're gay. And that's another thing, you start to become aware of your sexuality a lot more. You start to go through, for some people who, especially if they realise they're gay, because a lot of people don't know, lots of kids don't know they're gay as a child. Some do, some don't. It all depends on that child and that person. But they will start to become aware of their sexuality. That they are, you know, forming from a man, from a boy to a man, and a woman, from a girl to a woman. And there is a lot of, you know, increased peer pressure sometimes. And that's when I started to really battle with food as I went through my teenage years, because I was a lot more aware of, you know, the ideal girl and what the ideal body should look like. And there was lots of centre attention about, you know, girls being airbrushed in magazines, and was that causing, you know, girls to be self-conscious. And in a way, yes, it did, because the way they would expose a celebrity that had to put on weight, you know, and they weight shame. They've cut down on it now, but it still kind of happens. But weight shaming, you know, now, just because a woman's a certain size, that she shouldn't feel proud about who she is and the body she's got. And that's the other thing, is that, you know, you will notice your body a lot more than before. You'll start to feel sometimes uncomfortable, because I felt that way. I felt very uncomfortable if somebody of the opposite sex noticed me and I didn't want them to, you know, because I only want the person that I see in a emotional and a sexual partner. I only want them to notice me, not other blokes, and I found that very uncomfortable. I didn't like, you know, being eyed up by a lot of blokes. It's just something I don't feel comfortable with. But I like to chat to people that I like, you know, in that way, and I potentially see that they may, you know, could be, you know, someone to be with. And it's also, I mean, I never had a childhood sweetheart at all. But there's people who do. I never did, but never was a girl who went out with a load of boys. Understand I'm gay, let me just say that. But, you know, and you know in your mind how you feel about people. You know, because a lot of, you know, I remember in the 80s, and there was a lot of gay men in particular who were fighting to come out that they were gay. So they would get together with a female, and a lot of the time it was the case that they actually fell in love with the opposite sex. And would I say that's necessarily gay? No. It's that they feel attraction. It's that they feel connection with people, and they're the kind of people that, even if it's someone on the same sex, they're having that strong connection with, that they will be together with a person, no matter if they're a male or female. And there's different types of being gay, as I see it. So I know I was very prejudiced at one point about, you know, people being gay. I thought it was unnatural and all that, but Now looking back and seeing it for what it was, there's nothing wrong with it at all, because I think especially become a teen, you start to really see, how you feel about people in your life currently, and those that start to rise within your life. And I didn't really have loads of boyfriends, and it's taken me a long while to find my true love, and I'm now in that place where I have, and I'm not going to say who it is, even though it's been doubted that I am, but I'm keeping it private for a reason, because that's my right to do that. I don't want anybody knowing it yet, and I do keep things quiet like that, because I don't want the whole world knowing as such, and I like to keep things private. That's how I've always been, but I'm in that place now where I've found the one, and I know I have, but it's taken a long time, and being a teenager, you're full of emotion, but you will start to notice things a lot more being a teenager than you did as a young kid, and you also start to be aware of your beliefs as well. I was definitely like that. I was very much aware of my beliefs. I've always believed in God. It's something that has given me peace through my life. I do practice prayer, and that's something that's important to me. I don't do it every night. There was one time when I was, but I don't always. But I know by learning about my faults and flaws, it's helped me to be a good human being. And I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not perfect by any means. I've not always been proud of the things I've done, but I've addressed them and I've dealt with them, and I've moved on, And you will go through dark spells in your life, especially sometimes through your teens, because like I say, because you become so aware of your surroundings, the people within your circle, whether it's friends and family. You just become a lot more aware of the world as you become a teenager. And so, you'll have a lot more different thoughts and fears that you didn't have before. And it could be triggered from your childhood, But, if you do start to feel that, and you feel that bit uneasiness at first, then that's fine. And if you need to talk to somebody, I am working with Mind.org, and they're always on the hand if you want. If you're struggling, as you go through your teenage years, because I felt sometimes it was challenging. They are there to hand help, and their telephone lines are open 24/7, and they'll be happy to help you. And the other place you can go is, there are some really good. I've been watching on YouTube on a channel called and I found her videos yesterday, and I came across them, and there's a lady called Julia Christina, and she's basically doing counselling advice on YouTube, and it's really helpful. I came across it accidentally, and working with Mind.org, they have many tools and information, and yeah, just look on YouTube if you need some self-help, okay? And honestly, that's how I came across Tony Robbins. It was just accidental. I found this video of this guy that talked about changing your mindset, and I remember being very curious and like, what was this about, And as I started to watch, I became hooked, and I thought, wow, there's somebody who gets it, And I hope that you feel the same about these videos too, because as we become a teenager, we can also become very kind of like we can have a different outlook in our life for a bit, you know. And sometimes you can return to the same beliefs you have, but sometimes you have to go through things in your life to get to the other end to see if you still believe in those. And I have changed my outlook a lot since I've gone through the decades that I've been alive for. And now being 42, I've never been so aware of myself than ever before, you know, because when you go through difficult times, that's where you find where your inner strength is, you know, and you know your strengths, you know. And so, you know, if you are struggling to deal with, you know, puberty, because that comes with a lot of emotional feelings, and that's something that should be discussed, you know, in schools, because it can have a factor. And never fear that you're on your own and you're the only one going through that, because honestly, there will be other girls or boys that are feeling the same. It's just they're just like you, they feel afraid to talk about it. So, you know, and Mind.org, I work with Childline, and even Childline can help you as well. You know, because a lot of emotional feelings that we have in our teenage years can be stemmed from, you know, the things we've gone through in our childhood, you know. And so, you know, just be, you know, be careful who you trust in some ways. I'm not saying don't talk to people, but be just aware if you get that inner gut instinct where you think, I'm not sure about that person, then listen to it, you know, and, you know, hold up your guard, because that is very, very important, you know, because you will have girls who will, or boys, snipe at you, but you learn, or I learned to deal with it in a way that it didn't continue on and it stopped. And I was not bullied once at Grey Coats. I was bullied twice at St Paul's. At Grey Coats, I made an absolute must that I will not get bullied at Grey Coats. And my mum worked at the school, and I said to her, before I even got a place, I said, if I go to Grey Coats, I want some boundaries and rules, and that is, I don't want people knowing that you're my mum, because I didn't want to be seen as a teacher's pet, and I just wanted her to see me, and that when I was at school, that I was a pupil at school, and that we weren't mother and daughter, and then that failed the first day, because I forgot there was a girl in my class who's known me since I was a child, in my form, in my year, who turned around and said, why have you just called your mum Miss? And I remember being like, oh no, she's not my mum. And she went, yes, she is. So that situation didn't last, but it wasn't too bad, to be honest. It was more funnier at parents' evening, because she would sit down and they would look at her like, because obviously she at the time was Jenny Money was secretary of the school, so they actually thought she was there to talk to them about work and not actually about me, you know. So that was quite, you know, humorous, because not everyone did know that she was my mum at the beginning, which I was quite relieved at, because even if someone says that your mum, I would say no, not at all. I would pay no, I will have no, I didn't want to make any recollection that she was my mother, because I was like, no, I don't want people knowing that my mum's working at my school, you know. But I made it an absolute must that I would not get bullied at secondary school. And that's the other thing I say, make rules for yourself and set boundaries as you become a teenager, because you will be, your increase of being bullied further, an increase of being a prejudice to other predators of, you know, the wrong kind of people. You can an English child attracting the wrong kind of people, you know. So be on guard, and you know, trust your gut instinct and set boundaries, even more so in your teenage years, because you also then start to see who your real friends are. And I didn't keep in touch with anybody for a long time from Peabody, because as far as I was concerned, that part of my life was over, and I didn't want to go back, you know. So anyway, thank you for watching, and I will do another video next week. And if there is a topic that you would like me to talk about in this series of Truth About Growing Up videos, then please let me know. Anyway, take care, and I'll see you soon.